As a professional online meeting presenter and facilitator, I've seen the good, the bad, and the unbelievable. In this video, I'm going to share etiquette and best practice tips for most, if not all, online meetings. First, I'll talk about being a better participant, and then I'll share some thoughts which I hope will help hosts organize more engaging and more effective online meetings. The first thing I'd like to say is this. Online meetings have the potential to be extremely effective and can be very time efficient with improved productivity, whilst also providing the opportunity to save shed loads of money. But it has to start with everyone involved taking them more seriously. So please stop thinking or talking about them as just an online meeting. I hear it all the time. When hosts and participants have this attitude, their meetings almost automatically lack energy, focus, and therefore engagement. And that in turn leads to even more people not taking online meetings seriously enough. So if you want to make meetings a better use of your time, please just take them more seriously. And that leads me on to the subject of time. Join every meeting on time. Be ready at least 5 minutes before the official start time. Have your login details ready. Check your microphone and your camera. Make sure your eyes are in the upper half of the screen. I see far too many people pay no attention to their camera position. It is important. You'll be closer than I am in this video, so almost certainly you won't need a separate microphone. However, please pay at least some attention to the background. Tidy it up if necessary. It is important if you want to appear professional. And also be aware of the lighting. Natural light is always good, but never point the camera towards a window. You'll be in silhouette and look like you're part of a witness protection program. If you are part of a witness protection program, please carry on. Anyway, position the camera so you're looking towards the light. Make sure it's not so bright you have to squint though. Before the meeting, close all the apps and software programs that you're not using, especially if you're going to be using video. Better still, reboot your computer, but you might need to allow at least 15 minutes to do that. There's one more technical point I want to make, and if you're using video, try not to log on using Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi can't always manage the amount of data used by video. Therefore, whenever you can, plug your laptop or your PC directly into a router using a LAN cable, like this. Now, it will massively improve the picture quality for you and everyone else. And I'm reminding of a meeting I hosted in the UK at 2 a.m. once. My client and many of the participants were in the US, and one of the contributors was in Australia. And during his presentation, his picture turned really bad, and I was afraid we'd lose him. I apologized when I interrupted him and said, "Has your LAN cable unplugged itself? Because it looks like you're now on Wi-Fi." He checked, and yes, it had. He replugged it, and it instantly improved. And later, I was congratulated by my client for my tech support skills. Anyway, when you've done all of that, log in either early or on time to the second if you can. It sets a professional tone for everyone. And this is important. If you're early, make absolutely sure your microphone is off on mute. I probably don't need to explain why. Now, I hope these simple things will help you and everyone else. Now, let me share some thoughts with hosts. First thing, it's absolutely crucial that you're not late. I've seen that happen so often. Sometimes it's been a senior person who thinks he or she is making a statement about their superiority. Please don't do that. If the session is going to include quite a lot of discussion and interactivity, it's often a good idea to have someone in the same room as the host to manage the presentations if you're using them, and to monitor the incoming comments and questions so they can share the most important things with the host or the facilitator. And during important meetings that I'm often involved in, this admin person is effectively the meeting producer. As I've already said, it's really important that everyone is on time, but so many will be late. Now, here's an idea I use for large face-to-face congresses, and it works brilliantly online too. If your meeting is due to start at, say, 10 a.m., publish the start time as 10:03 or 10:07. Make it an odd number. I found it really registers with people, and far more are on time. You might like to give that a go. Now, you might not like this, but do not wait for latecomers. Always start on time, regardless. It's respectful and it's professional behaviour for everyone who did show up on time. Yes, you might get complaints later, but ignore them. If you show up late to see a movie, they don't rewind it for you. Behaving in this new way might persuade more people to show up on time for the next meeting. And don't recap for those who are late. If anyone says they don't understand something because they were late, politely say that other participants might like to send them a private chat message, either within the online platform that you're using or via SMS or WhatsApp. Better still, appoint someone to type meeting minutes into the chat area as you go, so everyone can see what's being covered, and you've got the added advantage then of capturing the essence of the meeting for a later download. Now, here's the most important point I want to make about the start of your meeting. I have seen far too many meetings where the host just waffles on and on and on until his or her audience are slowly giving up the will to live. And that's even before the meeting has actually got going. Meeting design, or creating the most effective flow with new elements woven in at strategic times, is an art form in itself. There's too many elements for me to include here, but every meeting will benefit from this. In 15 words or less, really, state why the meeting is taking place and why it's relevant to the audience. It has to be relevant to them. Fine-tune this statement until it's really succinct and punchy. Write it down or memorize it, and if you can, also put it on the screen. Make sure everyone knows exactly why the meeting is important and what's in it for them. That's so basic, but it amazes me how few people ever bother to do it. Then tell them when the meeting will end, and end at that time. And briefly share an audience-centric summary of what the meeting will cover. I'm not the biggest fan of agenda slides, but sometimes they can be very helpful to an audience. Now, if there is a way for participants to interact with you, engineer that into your program as early as you can. Depending on which platform you're using, there are all sorts of brilliant and easy to use interactive tools available. And play with the tools offline whenever you can. Become more comfortable using them. And don't be too ambitious, and only adopt 1 or 2 new elements into your programs and your meetings at a time. And one tip for all presenters: you need to inject energy into the meeting. Therefore, remember to project at least 10 to 15% more than you think is natural, and really engage with the camera like I am now. It will bring your meeting to life. It's a technique. Now, if you pride yourself for working for a professional organisation, for important meetings, such as those to customers, consider hiring a professional producer or a facilitator. Good ones will help you clarify your messaging beforehand. They'll make suggestions to ensure the meeting flows well. And during the rehearsal, you do rehearse, don't you? They will offer practical tips that will improve the performance of your contributors. Professionals often make it look so easy and so spontaneous. It never is, because professionals rehearse. Amateurs don't believe they need to. There are 2 types of rehearsal. There's what's called a tech run, where you check that the technology is working and there are no conflicts if you're using more than one technology at the same time. And the other type of rehearsal is a content rehearsal, where each contributor delivers their presentation so the organizer can check it for content, accuracy, clarity, relevance, and any possible repetition with other speakers. Repetition is not necessarily a bad thing because it can reinforce points. YouTube is full of online meeting tutorials. Watch as many of them as you can. There are so many more to choose from, and in light of the explosion of online meetings since early 2020, expect a lot more to emerge in the future. I really hope this video has been helpful. Please feel free to share it with colleagues so you can all improve the professionalism and effectiveness of your future online meetings. And if you've got any additional questions, send them to me, and if there's enough interest, I'll be very happy to make a follow-up video.